going on, everyone? Happy Wednesday. Jack Veltri here for Gamecock Central, and welcome to this week's edition of the Hard Fowl. No Joe Machiko with me this week, no intern Joe. He's feeling a little under the weather back home in Columbia, but I'm here for Hard Fowl this week, and I'm here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at TPG Arena, where South Carolina gets ready for the first round of the NCAA Tournament. That is something that we haven't been able to talk about in 7 years, right? It's crazy to think about that we're here, and me, myself, and Mike Huber, we're on the scene for all this week's coverage of South Carolina's first round matchup with the Oregon Ducks tomorrow, and that game will be at 4:00 on TNT in Pittsburgh. So anyway, hope you guys can hear me. It's a little tough with the setup here. Let's see. I think we got Oakland. Yeah, Oakland's practicing right now, and I'm right courtside, so just working with the setup that I got. So apologies if it's hard to hear me. I'm trying my best here, and but anyway, let's get into all the action here. So South Carolina just got done practicing about 5 minutes ago, maybe. And everyone looked good. I'll just cut straight to the chase of what y'all are here to hear. Miles Scooty, he had the hip pointer injury last week against Arkansas in Nashville in the SEC tournament, and talked to him a little while ago, and he said he's feeling a lot better. It was really hard getting out of bed and stuff, and working his way back to that injury at first. But now he's feeling good. He's going to be planning on playing tomorrow. I think Lamont Paris echoed the same sentiment, and it looks like he'll be good to go. And then Talon Cooper, I know he had the ankle injury against Auburn and couldn't really work his way through that game and finish it out like he wanted to. But he should also be good to go. I saw him running around during practice here, and he looked good. So, nothing to complain about on that end. So it looks like South Carolina is going to be about 100% in that aspect. And, I keep getting comments that it's a little hard to hear in here. There's a little bit of loud music playing in the background. So if you guys are having trouble hearing me, just leave a comment, let me know, so that way I can, I'll try to move to a different spot. So, let me see if I can move to a quieter spot. This is a little unorthodox, but gotta do what you gotta do, right? So, anyway, I'll keep talking while I move. So apologies. We're just kind of working with what we got here. But anyway, South Carolina. I mean, what can you say about this team? It's been a tremendous season for them. Just a lot of big games, a lot of wins, and who would have thought South Carolina would be picked last to finish in the SEC at the beginning of the year, and now they're going to play in the greatest college basketball tournament out there, March Madness. This is what you play for, and I cannot say that I personally thought South Carolina was going to get to this point, but here we are. And like I said before, if you guys can hear me, if you guys can't hear me, please let me know. It really does help. And again, I'm just working with what I've got here. So hopefully I'm in a quieter spot now in the tunnel area. So hopefully you guys are able to hear me now. But anyway, I'll just keep talking. So South Carolina, coming into this tournament as a 6th seed, they'll be playing the Oregon Ducks tomorrow afternoon, and Oregon's coming in hot, man. They are rolling. They at the beginning of the Pac-12 tournament, they were not projected to, make the NCAA tournament. They basically had to just win 3 games in 3 days, and win the Pac-12 tournament. And that's exactly what they did, right? They, were able to beat Arizona. They beat Colorado to win the Pac-12 championship outright, and ultimately took a spot away from someone in the tournament. I mean, who knows who that could have been? That could have been Pitt. That could have been a team like Seton Hall or St. John's. I know there's a lot of teams that didn't make it, and they got invited to go play in the NIT, but ultimately declined. And I kind of hate that because back in the day, it was it's called the National Invitational Tournament for a reason, and a lot of teams getting invited to that's a big deal. I know South Carolina won a few back in the day, so. To see so many teams declining, it's kind of weird, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about the game tomorrow. Oregon, we got a very, very good team, in my opinion. They got Nafali Dante, the big man in the middle for Oregon. I was talking to Conway DeVos and Josh Gray, big guys like that. They're going to have to go up against him tomorrow, and they know just how good he is. I mean, I think in the Pac-12 championship game, he had 25 points on. I know he shot 100% from the field, which is honestly insane. I mean, perfect 12 for 12. He's just a very, very good, talented player, and he's going to be the biggest problem for South Carolina, in my opinion. About it. I mean, yeah, they've got some shooters. They've got Jermaine Cousinard. I know that's a whole other big topic, and we'll talk about that. But Folly Dante is the man to stop, and if South Carolina can just find a way to contain him and not let him go nuts, I mean, who knows what happens, right? I think South Carolina's got a really good chance for this game, if that's the case. But I think with guys like Conway Boys, who's going to start and play against him, he says he's looking forward to the challenge of it and knows that he's a very big physical guy. And then you got Josh Gray in there to go ahead and clean it up. And I was talking to Josh in an open locker room session for media, and he didn't sound scared at all. He sounded like, okay, it's just another challenge. I mean, yeah, this guy's big. Yeah, he's got size. He's a really, really good player, but it's nothing that we haven't seen before. And he's right. And who knows what happens. I tried asking some of the guys, who does this Oregon team remind you of? And my opinion, Mike and I have been talking. We kind of felt like, maybe it's kind of like an Auburn team a little bit, minus the physicality to an extent. But some of the guys said it's not really like Auburn. It's Zach Davis, I think, said it was more like Florida, and that's a pretty good comp because obviously Florida is they're on a whole nother level right now. I mean, I know they lost the SEC championship game, but overall they've had a really good year, and South Carolina had to make a big comeback in the second half to beat them. So I think that's a good comparison. And honestly, South Carolina kind of got a little bit of I would say a pretty good draw. I think they can win this game tomorrow. But at the same time, I mean, you get to play the Pac-12 champs. I mean, that's no easy game to win. So we'll talk a little bit more about Oregon. We're getting to Cousinard actually now. So yeah, Jermaine Cousinard. If you guys remember, he is a former Gamecock, and this stuff like this does not usually happen where you get to. I'm sure when he transferred to Oregon after Frank Martin's firing at South Carolina, he wasn't expecting to ever play against his old team. But here we are, 2 years later, and he's going to get to play against Lamont Paris and the South Carolina Gamecocks. And he's had honestly, retrospect, I think the move was the best decision he could have made. He has just flourished at Oregon. He's been a really good player for them, starter. He didn't have the greatest Pac-12 tournament. He shot 29% from the field. And the thing with him is he's going to take a good bulk of the shots for Oregon tomorrow. But if South Carolina can hold him to around that 30, maybe a little less than that, honestly, if you get him back to where he was shooting in the Pac-12 tournament, that just takes him kind of out of the game. I mean, that's ideally what you want. Think of it like Dalton Connect a little bit, right? He's going to take a bunch of shots, so hold him to a certain threshold where he's only making, not as many as he should. And if you can do that, that's one facet of the game you got to take out. Obviously, the key to this game, like I said before, is stopping Folly Dante. But if you're able to take Cousinard out of the game, that allows you to focus your energy and attention on the inside game, which, I mean, South Carolina, it's going to be a pick and choose, I think, in my opinion. It's going to be, can South Carolina stop the inside game? And if so, what does that do for Oregon's outside game with the shooters? But if Oregon's not able to shoot well from the outside, what happens to their inside game? How does it look? I feel like it's going to be one or the other, in my opinion, of what Oregon's going to be really good at. And it's a tough challenge, but again, it's nothing South Carolina hasn't faced all year. Yeah, every game this season, South Carolina has had to endure some sort of challenge, right? They go to Alabama, they lose by 27 points, and then they go on a run and get themselves right back in the thick of things. And then they go to Auburn, they lose by 40 points, and then they lose to LSU at home in a game you shouldn't have lost. And then they really turned it up until that Tennessee game at the end of the year, where you have a chance to win the SEC regular season title, but you come up short. And then you go to the SEC tournament, and you lose in the quarterfinals, but at the same time, you didn't really need to do much in that tournament to make it to where you are now. And here we are. I mean, look, South Carolina has been battle tested all year. Look, I mean, if they're not ready for what's to come tomorrow, then there's a bigger problem. in my opinion. I think this team is going to be locked and loaded. They know what they got to do. They had a week off to kind of just reset and prepare for what the Ducks are going to bring. And I can tell you straight up, I mean, this Oregon team is going to bring a lot. They're going to be swinging and try to make some noise. I know I've seen a lot of these so-called experts and celebrities posting their brackets, especially on like the March Madness Instagram app. That's where I've seen most of these, where you have these MLB players and celebrities and college basketball junkies and stuff posting their picks. And I've seen a lot of guys pick Oregon. Me personally, even if I wasn't covering the team, I would probably pick South Carolina. I feel like Oregon got hot at the right time. Before this, they really weren't that impressive. I think they lost to Arizona. I'm gonna pull up some stats here, but working with what I got. But they lost to Arizona, I believe, twice during the regular season. I mean, I think they played Alabama. They lost. I think they lost to Bama. They didn't have the greatest regular season, to be honest. And I mean, it took a miracle run to kind of get them to where they're at. And that's just how it works sometimes. Now, will that momentum carry over? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it will. It's been a few days since the Pac-12 championship game and whatnot. And I don't know. Both teams are on good rest. So it's really going to come down to what South Carolina can do. And let's kind of now that we're kind of segue. Let's talk about what they've really got to do to go out there and try to win this game tomorrow. I'm going to try to set my computer down for a second so I can honestly try to film this a little better because holding the computer the entire time is a little weird. But there we go, perfect. So so anyway, with Carolina, what they've got to do, I think it really comes down to there's so many ways this team can win, right? But I think the biggest thing is what are they going to be able to do with the guard play. And in the NCAA tournament with March Madness, if history shows anything, I think you got to have good guard play to make a run. You've seen big guards in the past, like Steph Curry, for instance, at Davidson. Look at the way he was scoring game in and game out, and he helped. I think Davidson went to the Elite Eight, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day in the late 2000s. And that's just one example, but I know there's a bunch out there of good guard play. Kemba Walker, another good name, for instance, helped UConn win a national championship, I believe. And I mean, if you're looking at anyone to kind of compare with that, Meechie Johnson, what's he going to do? I know he didn't play that well in the SEC tournament. I think against Auburn, he went, I believe, 1 for 10 from the field. But honestly, I know he's a really good player, but he has been slumping, if we're being honest, the last few games or last few weeks, honestly, over a month at this point. He turned it on a little bit at the end of the regular season and made some big plays when he needed to. But with the NCAA tournament, he's got to step up. If South Carolina wants to go far, he's got to be playing better, man. He's got to. And I do expect him to play better because I'll tell you what, he's a local kind of guy. He's from the Ohio area. That's not too far from where we're at in Pittsburgh. I spoke to him earlier. He's got about 20 family members and friends coming into town tomorrow to watch South Carolina versus Oregon. And I think that's only going to help him thrive a little bit. And, I think when one shot goes in early, especially, he'll start feeling himself. He'll start being like, okay, this is what my shot could be like when it goes in. And I think that's kind of what it's going to come down to for him. And then, another guy that also could really help with that guard play, in my opinion, is Talon Cooper. I think all year he's been the most consistent shooter for this team. Even him, he's been a little streaky lately, but for the most part, you kind of know what you're getting out of him. You're getting a guy that can go out there, have a lot of assists, a lot of rebounds, good defensive play, hit the timely three-pointers that you need, the timely shots that a veteran should be able to hit. And he's also been here before. He has seen what it's like, granted during the COVID year with the NCAA tournament. So a little weird, a little different, but he's just trying to soak it all in. And he knows, like, this is it, guys. Like, tomorrow, think about it. It's hard to even comprehend. Tomorrow could potentially be the final game of this men's basketball season. And I think a lot of guys on this team are not ready for it to end. I think they want to keep it going, the rest of this week and then going into next weekend in Detroit. We'll see what happens. But with Talon specifically, he's also got to be, if Meechie's rolling, you got to get Talon rolling too. And that only makes things a lot tougher because when you focus on South Carolina's inside game, And that's where I think they can win this game is with guys like BJ Mack and Colin Murray Boyles and Josh Gray defending Nefali Dante and taking him out of the game and making him a non-factor. It's going to be tough, but I think they can do it. Because I think especially a guy like Josh Gray coming off the bench, he sizes up very well against Dante. And I mean, who's to say that he can't guard him? I think he's shown the confidence just from talking to him for a few minutes that he can do it. I think this game is really going to come down to winning the rebound battle, scoring points in the paint, and then getting your outside shooters good looks. And they've got to hit. They have to hit. Like, I cannot tell you how many shots that South Carolina had in the SEC tournament that were good looks that they just couldn't hit. And that's just how it happens sometimes. But I think this team is more than capable of doing it. But we'll see what happens. If you guys have any questions for me, I hope my mic is working well. Apologies that it's kind of been a little on the go here, and it's very loud in the inside the arena with all the music blaring and stuff. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to what it's like being here for the NCAA tournament. I still can't believe that we're here, man. It's wild to think about. Like, just I'm only 23 and we're out here covering the NCAA tournament. I don't think that's something I could have imagined when I was covering this team last year. Again, 11 wins last year, first year of Lamont Paris, and what a job he's done getting this team turned around and winning 26 games at this point. It's remarkable. It's insane that turnarounds like this happen. And in my opinion, I think it's undoubtedly true that he should be the National Coach of the Year. I know Dan Hurley from UConn is another contender for that, and I've seen a lot of people talking about how he's going to win National Coach of the Year. But think about it this way. I mean, Hurley won the national championship last year at UConn. I don't know exactly the specifics of who came back, who left, this and that. And I know he's led UConn to an incredible season, top overall seed in the NCAA tournament. But think about this. How many coaches can you truly say would be able to take what South Carolina did last year and turn them to what they are this year? I don't know. Can Hurley do that? I don't know. I'm sure it's not many. And the system Lamont has built here just works. They're a very defensive-minded team. They have good shooters, that hit most of the time. And when everything's clicking, they're a dangerous team. And that's what it's going to take to make a run in the NCAA tournament. They are going to have to shoot well. You got to rebound well, play good in the paint. I know it seems like a lot of things, but trust me, with this team, it's very, very possible. And I think having a little bit more time off to get recouped, get rested, and be back towards 100%, I think it's very big. And getting guys like Miles Studi and even Talon Cooper, who was a little banged up last week, getting them back for this week would be huge. And I know I mentioned him earlier, but I'll kind of refresh a little bit on what I said before in case you're just tuning in. Miles Studi, I was talking to him earlier. He said he was about 75 to 80% during practice on Tuesday, the last team practice at Carolina Coliseum in Columbia before flying out to Pittsburgh yesterday. And at this point, he doesn't know what the minutes are going to look like for him in the Oregon game, but he did say he will be playing for sure. And that's a big deal. I mean, who knows what happens? I don't think really much changes in the Auburn game if he plays, if he didn't get that hip pointer injury. But I mean, his presence is definitely, it definitely helps, and it has an effect on the team. I mean, he's another veteran. He's a good shooter. Plays pretty good defense. He's been there before. He knows what it takes to win and stuff. And having him back, I think, is definitely going to be big in terms of what they do tomorrow. But we'll see what happens. But looking ahead after Oregon, if South Carolina gets to the next round, they'd either be playing Creighton or Akron in the second round of March Madness, the round of 32. And I mean, it's very possible they can get to that point. But again, nothing's a guarantee in this tournament. I mean, Oregon has been rocking, man. I mean, it's crazy to think about. I didn't think they were going to play Oregon, to be honest. I know they had gone in their run winning the Pac-12 tournament, but I think they kind of lucked. I think South Carolina also kind of lucked out because, I mean, those 5-12 games, man, those are going to be tough. I think I wrote a story about some of the potential upsets you could see I definitely think Samford. I think Samford's going to beat Kansas. I do think that's going to happen with Kevin McCullough being out for uh, Kansas, and then Hunter Dickinson. Who knows what happens with him? He might also not be playing in that game. He's been banged up. I know he had a shoulder injury that caused him to miss the entire Big 12 tournament, and it just doesn't feel like Kansas is here. I think Samford's a very good shooting team, and we'll see what happens with that. And then some other games. I mean, McNeese, they got a big 5-12 game, I believe, that I think they can win. JMU, who's to say they can't beat Wisconsin? And honestly, I this is one I threw in my potential upsets as just not a joke necessarily, but like it's possible, right? Long Beach State plays Arizona, a 15 versus 2 seed matchup. And in case you guys have no idea about Long Beach State, before the conference tournament for Long Beach State, their coach and the university agreed that they were going to part ways after the season ended. And of course, just as fate would have it, Long Beach State went on to win their conference tournament, and now they're playing in the Big Dance against Arizona, who, to my knowledge in the past, has lost some of these higher seed versus lower seed games. So anything's possible. And I think it's March, man. It's crazy. Things are going to happen. And, if for South Carolina, you really hope you can avoid that 6 versus 11 upset. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are in terms of what the 11 seed win percentage is against the 6 seed. But I know, like, the lower seeds have won games before. And this is one where, like I said, a lot of people are picking Oregon to win. And that only just helps fuel South Carolina in terms of what they can do. And I think they're going to be ready for tomorrow. And, I think it's going to be a very exciting game. Again, keys to the game for me, in my opinion, Michi Johnson, got to shoot better. Defensively, you have to find a way to slow down Nafali Dante. And then 3, just get I think what we really haven't talked about is get some sort of tempo, momentum going early, right? You cannot get off to a slow start because you're falling behind, and then you got to play at Oregon speed. And for South Carolina, the way they typically win is when they're playing their brand of basketball. They can play at their pace, their style, slower a little bit. And in a tournament like this, that could hurt them a little bit, where if they fall behind, they got to play at a higher speed. And, we saw in the Auburn game, and it really affected them. But can they compete early, get out to a big lead, get out to some sort of lead, keep it close, and do what they do? We'll see what happens. But I feel like that's probably going to be where the X's and O's in this game lie. So, as we start wrapping this show up a little bit, just want to talk to you guys a little bit about our friends over at Liberty Tax. Taxiety is that uncertain feeling you get right before doing your taxes, but you don't have to go through it alone. The tax team at Liberty Tax in Irmo, Lexington, and Columbia will walk you through the process, clear up any confusion, and guarantee you'll get the biggest possible refund or your money back. It's tax time. If you're in a hurry for your refund, call on the tax team at Liberty Tax. Fast, accurate, and guaranteed. On the other hand, though, if you think you might be owing Uncle Sam, talk to the Liberty Tax team to make sure you're not paying more than you should owe. They'll find every possible deduction for you. Locally owned and operated, staffed by tax professionals from your neighborhood. Open 99 weekdays and 9 to 5 Saturdays. Multiple service options. You can start through the Liberty Tax mobile app or through desktop portal. You can make an appointment or walk in. Just give a call to upload your tax documents, and when you come in, your return will be ready to review and sign. On your screen right now, for those listening, the number to call is 803-462-5576. Again, on your screen right now, and for those listening, the number to call for Liberty Tax is 803-462-5576. And as I get our second sponsor up, the man above me, Mr. Clint Hammond. If you're in need of help with your mortgage, call our good friend Clint Hammond at the Movement Mortgage Network. He's been in the mortgage industry since 2003, which allows him to help everyone from the first-time home buyer to the complicated and complex jumbo buyer. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance, nothing is more important than a well-thought-out financial strategy that comes with 5-star customer service. He's even helped out our very own Wes Mitchell and former Gamecock quarterback Mr. Perry Orth with their mortgages. So give our guy Clint a call. The number above, 803-771-6933. Again, Mr. Clint Hammond 803-771-6933. So as we wrap this show up, again, thank you guys for tuning in and kind of dealing with what we got going on here, kind of working under on-the-go circumstances. Welcome to the NCAA tournament, right? And I hope my guy Joe, intern Joe, is feeling better. And we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, last thoughts on the game tomorrow. Like I said before, it's going to be tough stopping this Oregon team, right? They've got a lot of talent. They're riding and really hot right now. And the big storyline is what's Jermaine Couisnard going to do against his old team? It's a very big storyline, and he's a great player, great shooter. Has only progressed since leaving South Carolina, and he did what he had to do. Right? Frank Martin got fired. He decided to leave. That was his coach, and I get it. It's a tough spot to be in, playing at South Carolina and then watching your coach have to leave. And it is what it is. But now you got to move on, and it's all business. Talking to some of these guys that like Josh Gray and Jacoby Wright that used to play with Couisnard, it's all business now, and they know what they got to do. And another thing they got to do, they got to stop N'Faly Dante. I keep saying he is lethal. I haven't seen many guys like him, but if there's any team that can find a way to stop him, I do believe it is South Carolina. Kyle Murray Boyles. Let's see what he's all about tomorrow. This is where he can really show up on the big stage. Guys like Josh Gray, maybe even BBV. Who knows? BJ Mack, guys like that. Zach Davis that can go in there and maybe try to stop him. I think they talked a little bit about maybe trying to double team Dante a little bit, but at the same time, that it might work, it might not. They got to have a lot of tricks up their sleeve to try to take him out of the game. And then you got to shoot. You got to be able to hit your shots. Michi Johnson, Talon Cooper, Zach Davis, guys like that, even guys off the bench like Jacoby Wright. Hit your shots, you have a fighting chance. And look, this is March Madness. This game is probably going to come down to the wire like it always does. And if you're able to do just a little bit more in the end, you're going to be on the right side and you're going to be moving on to the round of 32. So that is going to be it for this week's episode of the Hard Fowl. Really appreciate all you guys tuning in. South Carolina plays Oregon 6 versus 11 in the first round of the NCAA tournament tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at PPG Arena. Again, my name is Jack Veltri, and I will be here tomorrow covering the game. I'll be writing a lot of stories from this, and be sure to stay tuned for all that. And then the GC Live postgame show, Mike Yuva and my man Joe Machika will be handling that after every game, however far South Carolina goes, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Hope you guys are ready for it, and be sure to stay tuned to GamecockCentral.com for all your coverage. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and be safe.